This is Lansdowne Road, the voice of the fans, and this is the window review. It's more like a fallout, really. David Dunn here, joined by Martin Prendergast and, of course, Connor McAvoy. And today we're going to be talking about, well, really, Irish World Cup hopes in tatters yet again. We're going to go through the result, how we got there, and where we go from here. But before we do that, please don't forget to subscribe to the YouTube channel. Head over to our Facebook, Instagram, and our Twitter account. And if you want a little bit of extra Roar, head over to Roar Plus $4.99. Won't do you any harm and helps us doing what we do, such as traveling to Yerevan, all the way over to Yerevan. Lads, apologies, Martin, but I'm going to ask Connor first because, you know, he actually did leave his house for the window. Well, second half of the window anyway. Connor, how are you? Are you refreshed after your long... How did you get back, by the way? Was it
through Rome? Through Rome. Yerevan, what a city. Unbelievable time there. Loved it. I'm sure you found the same, Dave. Top class city.
Yeah, really good.
People are lovely as well, and obviously it was cheap as well, which always helps when you go to these cities. But yeah, long day, yes, a very long day traveling through Rome. It was a 4 hours flight and a 3 hour flight to Dublin, so it wasn't a nice day. Traveling through Budapest on the way over was a bit better, but yeah, glad to get home in the end, especially after dull results. I know we'll get to that, but when you're on them sort of flights, I was saying to one of the lads yesterday on the flight, luckily there was a spare seat that went down, it's upside down on the way back because I was just in full depression mode after the other day. And it was a sort of thing that, like, when you're sitting there on them flights and it's just you with a pair of AirPods in, listening to music, just all the bad memories that match go your tread. I didn't realize how bad it actually was until you're just sitting there on that flight, because there's no TV to distract you and all you've got is your phone and your AirPods, and you're just sitting there for 4 hours just thinking about all the bad things that have gone wrong in Irish football over the last week, and it's not good for the brain.
Last week. Jesus Christ. Lifetime. Yeah, it must have been devastating for you, kind of not being able to get on TikTok. Martin, how did you find the travelling going up and down the stairs? I said it must be tough for you, was it? The odd trip to the pub, was it? And
yeah, it was a trip to the pub. Yeah, I was in the Dog and Duck in Winchmore Hill. Yeah, I did watch the match there. Yeah, eventful evening, drowning my sorrows by the end of it, of course. And yeah, don't really remember too much about it, to be honest. So that shows it was that's on a school night. That's that is a worry. I think I just remember getting a message off my lovely wife Caroline saying, he's got school tomorrow. Make sure you're home and get home with him. He's got school. You can stay out, but don't make sure you bring Kean home. So yeah, we then left. But yeah, no. I mean, we'll come on and chat about it, won't we? It's just a very depressing time. I want to just say fair play to you lot heading out there, and obviously loads of fans I obviously know, supporters went over there in big numbers supporting the team. They'll do so again, obviously, for Portugal and Hungary. But yeah, just an awful night for Irish football.
Dreadful night, and a big thank you to the Roar faithful. Many of you out there, like, really showing your support to the podcast and what we do. And thank you so much. And you know, we are the voice of the fans, and you know, people now fully realise that we are an outlier for you. You know, if you want to vent, this is the place to do it. This is the place to do it. We don't mind. And yeah,
well, Dave, you have to lie. Don't do it after we lose 2-1 to Armenia and there's 5,500 people watching live and you can't keep up with the comments because everyone's going mental. That's the first time, in fairness, it was great to see, but it's the first time we haven't been able to keep up with the comments because it was outrageous. Like,
I know, really sorry about that. I mean, like we were literally getting kicked out of the ground, and I had to get a plane. We did a player ratings, Connor and I did, back at our hotel. Sorry, and yeah, we're trying to get Connor fed first of all, Martin. That was funny.
That burger, by the way, that burger, Dave, was outrageous.
I it did actually look.
It looks outrageous.
Yeah, I had my little packet of crisps outside, but anyway,
there you go.
Yeah, it was really funny because the taxi driver and the hotel manager was taking the piss out of us, wasn't he? You know, in the hotel, and then the taxi driver, like, he's like, he shows up and goes, oh yeah, you know, in Armenian base, he said, you know, look at him, he's over here, he probably thought they were going to win. Look at him. The guy's like,
was this you going to the airport, was it?
Yeah, I was going back to Athens and then back to London. Sorry, man.
I mean, no. I mean, I caught the match preview from inside the stadium as well, which is, you know, it's unique that we do that as well. And it was a brilliant show. I did watch, obviously commented and very positive, weren't we, going into the game? And I think everyone had a very positive outlook to this game. But the aftermath as well, I did get that. But how I felt about it, and how I probably felt all day yesterday as well. I mean, you were checking, weren't you? You're right, Martin. You're very quiet. But I just find it so difficult when I was watching it on TV, and then the result's gone against you. It's like I was sulking, to be fair. I feel that now. But I have done this in the past. It's not sulking. It's just I was so disappointed. And it takes me a while. Like Connor, you said you sat there on a flight listening on AirPods or thinking about it, not listening to podcasts. I mean, you could see the fallout from and off the ball and all these different, post-match interviews, RTE, all of those. I kind of just, I need to kind of digest it myself sometimes. I probably need a day, 24 hours to digest it. I mean, I know loads of viewers came on ranting away. We couldn't keep up with the comments, of course, aftermath that you did. Fantastic show as usual. Obviously, challenges with Wi-Fi and stuff, but there was such a negative response, which I'm expecting, but I thought I can't. I found it difficult as well, even during the game. WhatsApp groups are hopping, everyone's got an opinion, all those things. It was so I just need to kind of distance myself from it away to kind of process it myself, and I kind of have now, because I've obviously read a little bit and articles and heard different podcasts or interviews, as I said, but because you don't always get that in the pub, of course, but I was probably 100 opinions from different people. We got opinions.
Just lads, if we compare to before the window, because Martin's talking about the negativity here, compare the positivity we had on the window preview. And was our Hungary preview live? Was it live or was it the window preview? We had the comments coming through, and I've never seen such positivity going into an international break with Irish fans. We all thought this was the start of something special, and now we're back to thinking we're the worst country in the world. And like I was at the press, Dave, the other night. I went back to the hotel room and I could not sleep. And at 4:30 in the morning, I had to go to YouTube and search Ireland versus Scotland 3-0 highlights to watch them goals from my club of Femi and Troy Parrott again to make me smile.
And again, you will have to go back to watch those goals to make you smile. Yeah, look, I mean, I was guilty of it as well. I was actually, at the beginning, I said, we're not going to the World Cup. And then you lads laughed me down and everyone, whatever. And I got carried away with it. And I'm annoyed at myself because my gut instinct, there was a lot of red flags. There's been a lot of red flags that we've ignored because we tried to be positive. Because, you got to be, you have to be positive. Otherwise, you're just miserable all the time, You have to try and be positive. But, if there is a massive fallout, the manager has no one to blame but himself. The players have no one to blame but themselves either, because they were talking it up, talking a good game, and let's go into the match. But beforehand, we had a video, a rallying cry for the Irish fans and all this kind of stuff. Yeah, well, that's all found to be complete and utter nonsense. That game against Armenia was an abject performance. It was one of the worst performances. It wasn't quite as bad as Cyprus 5-2, because if you look at the starting 11 we had, I think we had a top tier 11 Premier League players. I think we had a Russian Super League. I think that's what you call it, Super League, with Aid McGeady. We had Premier League players there. No way they should be losing to Cyprus. They shouldn't be getting battered 5-2, and that could have been 7 or 8 because they started taking the piss. That game against Armenia actually should have been 3-1 in the end, because that goal, I mean, I think is toe cap, or is tone.
It should have been more. Like I've heard something again. Some of the fallout I've heard, it's like expect
5, 6, 7, 1.
XG was 2.5 goals, I think.
Yeah.
They hit the bar. They had the disallowed goal.
Kelleher saved.
And Kelleher made the fantastic save 1v1. It could have been
I'm going to say it. It was a fucking disgrace of a performance. I do not care. How can over £100 million worth of a back five not sort things out, not communicate with each other, not play well together? Oh, he's not really a left-sided defender. I prefer. Who cares? It's Yerevan. Sorry, it's Armenia and Yerevan. They hadn't won a game for over a year. They lost to a bunch of fucking whales up in the Faroe Islands. And you mean to tell me, and not just like they had about 5 million chances and they got, they nicked it. Like, that happens. That happened in Luxembourg, really. The one at home wasn't great, but when you kind of look back at it, they outplayed us, outfought us. They were dreadful. It was pathetic. Collins, people's going on about him, how he's this amazing, defender at club level. Yeah, maybe so. He is rubbish when it comes to Ireland. Absolutely dreadful. That, you know, and I'm sick of these excuses. Oh, we don't know what went wrong. What do you mean you don't know what went wrong? You're a professional footballer. You get paid to play football. You don't know what went wrong. Jacob Bryan right back. I mean, I was criticised, right, for saying he had no speed, right? Some fella called me an idiot on here. Yeah, look at him for the second goal. Wasn't looking behind him. And I like Jacob Bryan. I think he's a good player. He was watching the ball, not watching the man. Basic stuff. Basic stuff. They couldn't do it. The only people that come out of any credit for it, including the manager, is the goalkeeper, Queen Keller, and Evan Ferguson. What a goal by Evan Ferguson. He looked lively. He got a bit of a smack. The referee wasn't really great for us. That probably took him out of it because he probably thought he was concussed, actually, for a bit. Queen Kelleher, again. Adamita did a little bit when he came on. The whole thing was rubbish. It was just rubbish. It was pathetic. And, you know, they went over to the fans. If I was in that fan, I don't know. I wouldn't have applauded them. And then, you know, to top it all off, you got fellas like myself, Connor there, other fans as well, that spend an absolute fortune to watch that tripe. And they go back to their £1 million lives, millionaire lives, playing in the English Premier League or the Championship, and he put on a performance like that. It was disgraceful. I did not want to hear any apology. I don't think there has been on social media. I don't want to hear any of that nonsense. It was shit. Fix it. If you're not good enough to play for Ireland, if you don't take the pride to play for Ireland, which should be the greatest achievement of your footballing career, then fuck off. That's what I say to anyone. I'm not picking any particular player out, but that's what I'm saying. Fuck off. It's not good enough. Fans are paying a fortune to watch that rubbish. And it is rubbish. So there you go. That's my analysis. It was shite.
I don't know where to go from here. I don't know where to pick up from there. It's just...
Am I wrong?
No, you're not wrong, because it's one of the worst things I've ever seen in my life. It's like, could it start after 2 minutes thinking, the defender makes good clearance off the line from Ferguson, and Jack Taylor had the chance where if he would have went down, he would have got the penalty, thinking, we're actually going to do something here. We're actually going to get a goal quick enough and build on it. And I got worse and worse and worse. Like, not on to the manager yet. The players were an absolute disgrace in every aspect. The players were scared to get on the ball. They were scared to go into 50-50s. As I know James McLean said about no one clattered anyone until Ferguson did the end. That wasn't even my biggest worry. It's just the fact no one even did. I wonder how many tackles we won in the whole match. I'd love to know how many duels were competed between Irish players and Armenian players, or won by Irish players. These bloody long throw-ins that we never make first contact with, which we waste 45 seconds at a time. The players that think they're all this great technical players, and then when it comes to playing on a pitch that's a little bit bobbly, all of a sudden they forget how to pass a ball and they forget how to pass it sidewards, and then you have them going up to the fans at the end, and then fans are there fighting with each other. I know there's no actual fight, but I heard there's a lot of arguments in the way end between some fans clapping them off and then some fans booing them, and it's the sort of thing. It's like, no one deserves to be clapped after that. It's an absolute disgrace. They've let in all honesty, they've let the country down in bucket loads after that. The fact is, we came into this window with so much positivity, and we had every right to be positive in terms of comparing our starting 11 between us and Hungary, and then the same excuses are coming out again with, it's because of the lack of money invested by the FAI and the government in the academy setup in Ireland, which is, in all honesty, it's a walk-in excuse to get these lads out of jail with this performance. No matter what anyone says about the lack of money being invested, and maybe Jason Knight might be slightly better at passing the ball if he had better coaching in Ireland when he was younger or something. But all these lads, this whole group of players, were the group of lads that were still involved when Brexit wasn't here. I went to England at 16, and they can't beat Armenia. Like, you joke with me? Like, why is that? I know it's the sort of thing of putting pressure on the government to get this back, but there's absolutely no excuse of why you can't beat one of the worst nations in football at the moment. And all that, they are one of the worst nations in football right now. They're 105th in the world. They lost to Faroe Islands. They got absolutely battered by Georgia in March. And I just don't know. I don't know where these players go from here, because, like, who do you even start with? Because the reality is the manager's going to have to make a point for the next window. And it's like, who do you drop first? Like, is it just too easy to put all the blame on Matt Doherty when he didn't play the other night, and as bad as he was in Hungary? Like, can you just say, we'll drop Matt Doherty? Is that kind of the easy choice because he's done it before and he knows the fans are on his back? And should it be a Kastapen? Should it be a Gadar O'Shea, who's been absolutely rubbish? Should it be a Jason Knight or a Josh Cullen? Should it be Ogbene, who was, honestly, as hard as he tries, he's clearly not up to it at the moment. So it's, I don't know. I don't even know what to think. It's like the whole thing of fans. Like, we spend hard-earned money, Dave, to go out to that. And the reality is, very few of them actually, you could see, properly apologise to way and then. I know it's sort of thing. A lot of them just clapped for 2 seconds, went off. I seen an interview after with Collins. Was it just a car crash? He it was just the whole thing of what went wrong. His answers were just, "Oh, we have to beat Portugal in thingy." I don't know. We have to beat Portugal. Like, what type of cop-out excuse? Why can't you just say we are absolutely useless and we've let the country down? And I know the thing about saying sorry and stuff, but like in that sort of situation, you can just, if you say we've let the whole country down and we apologise, something like that isn't that too bad. I know Josh Cullen did something after saying how embarrassed he was and how this is. You can see there was more emotion when he spoke about it, saying about the embarrassment and how this keeps happening and he's so sick of it happening. Collins was an absolute disgrace, and for our captain to say something like that. And the reality is, the real captain of Irish football was left out of the squad, and it was an absolute disgrace why he was left out. When you see moments like that with the weak mentality that these players have. But yeah, we'll speak about why he was left out soon.
Okay. Martin, I've had my monologue. Connor's had his monologue. No, that's fine. And we're going to give you 5 minutes uninterrupted. Say what you think, and then we'll go in. We'll pick through the bones of it.
Again, it's just difficult where to start, isn't it? Performance-wise, that's not good enough for an Ireland team going out there, and also, professional footballers going out there who are, a lot of them are playing at a very high level, Championship and Premier League. That's the level they're playing at. Have won trophies. Armenia has won trophies for Celtic. They're captains and leaders. That was a big narrative as well. There's just so much wrong with this. Even the management, the selection. Even just talking about the lack of leadership, ironically, when they're going on about how many captains we have, very early in that game, Evan, who is one of our youngest players, got absolutely smashed. It was an outrageous tackle that he came right across him and he smashed back and really hurt himself with that, and it looked awful. There was actually a comment, I'm not sure who made it though, and a commentary saying, you can't be crying on the pitch, or like as if it was aimed at Evan is how I interpreted it, that no one actually went and looked after him or smashed someone. Imagine that, Roy Keane on the pitch with that happening. Like, your young strikers getting absolutely smashed, and you are seeking retribution. There is no leaders in that team. The whole narrative was we've got leaders. Collins is a fantastic player on the radar of Arsenal and Champions League teams, and yet I agree with you, Connor. That was so embarrassing, that post-match interview, the Tony O'Donoghue one, then the other one with off the ball, just pathetic. Like, I haven't seen it. Like, a player will know. They'll know if they play in a training game whether they played well or not, or have we actually done what the coaching team have asked us to do. And they didn't. Clearly, they didn't. I mean, Darren O'Shea basically could not pass the ball 25 yards and we gave away chance after chance on that. Like you said, Dave, multi-million-pound defenders there, all highly rated, and yet can't play together, can't keep conceding goals. We've conceded 4 goals over 2 games against mediocre opposition. We've got Portugal, one of the top teams in European football, world football, coming to take us on soon. So, it's the future isn't bright with that, and we can't, be tight and organised. I think there's a bit of an overtop reaction though of when everything's wrong. It's, the GAA's fault. It's Paki Bonner's fault. What's he doing? Why is the coaching not good enough? I think that does allow a bit of a cop out for the players ultimately, and the coaching, because you set up your team with a management coaching plan, a game plan, and that's on the management if the players can do it. Now, maybe the players aren't good enough to actually do it. What you're going to get now, though, you'll get spin on this. The next few weeks, you'll hear little drippings through from these players, some of them who love a little press conference. They love a little cheeky chat to like the Irish Times or whatever, spinning their narrative. We had that with Matt Doherty before, that he was disrespected when he was left out of the squad previously. The sense of entitlement from someone to actually say that when they've been left out after such abject performances. I don't want to hear that this week. I was outraged when Collins at Wembley was coming over to us and doing the whole hands up apology thing. I gave him a little bit of a cop out on that, they were down to 10 men. But I think game does recognise game, right? And Roy Keane said they're very, very fragile mentally, this team. And then, now we're saying that, rumours are that we brought in an extra strength and conditioning manager from a finance point of view, consultant or physio, rather than having a psychologist. We've had David Ford within the squads in the past, haven't we? Working on them mentally, but they're professional footballers. They have to have a sense of pride. You put 11 Irish fans out there, they would do as well as them. They honestly would, because they'd be fighting for their lives and representing Ireland. I just think we're giving too many excuses, thinking it's doom and gloom too much, trying to solve all the problems now, right? Where do we go forward from this? It's not about the FAI and the structuring. It's not about the coaching or anything like that. It's about this squad going forward into October with this management? Do the FAI keep with him? What is the fallout from who's he going to drop and blame, basically? Or, I do want to hear Heimir come out, and say, this was our game plan. We didn't do it. I think the lack of leadership is a real concern. Seamus Coleman there, that would not have happened. That wouldn't have happened to that level with Seamus Coleman there. I would have had him still in the squad, or involved in that. With his age and seniority now, I think, and his experience, he should be around the squad still, because Collins isn't a leader who could step up and actually do anything.
Let's talk. Let's talk about, people are giving out obviously about the FEI and funding and all that kind of stuff, right? Just a couple of mythbusters here, right? First of all, people say we don't have the players. What you mean to tell me we don't have the players to beat Armenia and Armenia? Yeah, we do. Do we have the players that should be beating Hungary at home? Yeah, we do. Do we have players that could perhaps get a result, nick a result? I'm not saying a win, a result in Portugal. Yeah, we do. That's a decent side. The problem is either the coaching isn't good enough, the tactics aren't good enough, and the attitude of the players. There's a lot of that. Now, with the FAI, I have to disagree there somewhat. The FAI and their financial issues isn't the reason why we lost in Yerevan. Okay, but we've gone through that. The players were just shocking. But the farce of how Heimir Hallgrímsson became Ireland manager is down to the FAI. The lack of preparation that he had is down to the FAI. And they know it. The director of football who's left, now we're going to talk about the new director of football is coming later on in the podcast. The one he left, talking about the process, talking about, he was the only candidate. And yet you have every man and his dog coming out saying, I was approached. Lee Carls, who was supposed to be approached, but apparently, allegedly, he wasn't able to pick his own background team, which is, sacrosanct to a coach, his background team. You can't dictate who we can have and who we can't have. I'm sorry, but this is a failing. The coaching team is part of it. It was a failure under Steve McKennie. It's failed now because we're practically out. There should be a clear out. There shouldn't be there should be a clear. And I'm sorry, that includes John O'Shea, people like him. I know, Martin, you love him, but why are we holding, we need a spring clean at management level, coaching level, right? Maybe a goalkeeping coach, that kind of thing. But anyone involved in the tactics, anyone involved in the setup of the team, have to be gone. I'm sorry, has to be gone. We need to clear out.
Heimir should go then, but you're saying Heimir's got to go.
If you don't qualify, yes, absolutely.
Yeah. Oh no, this is the thing. Contractually, though, I wonder where they are with that. I agree with you in some respect. That a coaching staff is sacrosanct to the manager and the recruitment thing, but we got that wrong. Where are we aiming budget wise? That is on the FAI, but that's on also the government, lack of funding and things like that. That is and again, it's responsibility given. Like I mentioned Packy Bonner in my little rant earlier. People are calling at him going, what does he do? Why is he the main football person on this board? He played, the last World Cup he played was 94. He was involved around 2002. He's now this figurehead of Irish football as a football legend, but still making key decisions in the FAI. We know it kind of all needs a bit of a reset.
We're talking about funding. Yeah, we're talking about funding, right? I hate to cut across you,
but are you limited though on that, Dave? That's my point. If they haven't got much budget,
last year, they went to the Public Accounts Committee to ask for £1 billion, basically, or to go for £1 billion for funding, and they were hit with that. I always keep this here, and that was Jonathan Hill, the previous. Now David Crowell's in charge now, and we all like David Crowell. There he is. There seems like a decent lad, right? But he has been given the ultimate hospital pass in terms of organisation, right? There's all sorts of stuff happening. There's Eileen Gleeson situation. There was the Colin Healy situation, and now you've got redundancies going on. I don't see anyone lose their job, by the way, especially in this climate. But Jonathan Hill, his predecessor, went to the PAC to basically get the hand and say, look, we are changed. We're a different organisation now. You can trust us with £1 billion. And he went, yeah, but can you tell us this? And that was to do with holiday payments. He got holiday payments, said that he didn't actually request it, or he wasn't aware of it. And of course, you can see there, allegedly, that turned out to be complete bollocks. So they need funding. They're trying to go out and say, look, you can trust us with government money. But then the government go, yeah, well, what about that? What about that? Their name was already in the toilet, Martin. It was already in the toilet for years and years and years and years and years. You can go back. Have you ever known a year? In your lifetime? Never mind Connor's lifetime. In your lifetime, there hasn't been some sort of scandal with the FEI. Their reputation is in the toilet, right?
But it
And they
always
need
has been, though, hasn't it? That's the thing. Like, they're
exactly
going for government. Like, they can't organise anything. I mean, Roy Keane said it, didn't he? They can't order a piss up in a brewery.
piss up and
But,
brewery, yeah.
like, it always has been shoddily run. And like, I am a positive person trying to say, right, you got to just forget that in a minute and go, right, who can organise it now and trust that David Carell's going to do there. And obviously, we've got other people coming in now. Loads of
Yeah.
mistakes been, but the government won't trust them with money. That's the ultimate thing. But what they're not doing though, and this is a separate thing from the football, and say, but we want it to be the best. The facilities, everything like that, from this money they need. We need them to be trusted, but they're not. They haven't got the support of the people. They haven't got it's a massively popular game, Irish football. It's amazing. One of the things from the fallout from this is we had the biggest attendance in Europe at a home game the other day, didn't we? The World Cup qualifiers. The public haven't lost faith with the team. Like, we still are football mad and obsessed in Ireland. You've got 300,000 kids or youths playing it or adults playing it, the game. That's a lot of powerful people to speak, but it's not been channeled, that support. It's not necessarily the FAI. It's to say football. It's football, but sadly, it's governed by the FAI in the country. But we're not getting the support of that. That's why the government won't give money. They're not trusted to do it.
But that's because when there's a scandal,
I don't know who can come in and do that. Yeah,
but because there's a scandal. Sorry, Connor, I'll let you come in a second. Because when you have a scandal, Martin, like that, you need about 18 months to maybe 2 years to cleanse yourself, to move on and be perfect, nice and boring. Jonathan Hill was brought in to be perfect, nice and boring. He was anything, but he was boring, but he wasn't perfect, and he didn't get it. Now, Carell, as I said, from what we've seen of him, I like him so far. But time will tell on his tenure. And he'd say that as well. He's a fair guy. He said it. We've spoken to him.
He's still firefighting now, though, isn't he? With a lot of these issues that he said.
He's firefighting. You have to feel for the man. He comes in and he's got this issue to deal with, that issue to deal with, that issue to deal with. We have a new director of football has come in. We'll talk about him in a second. So you kind of hope that will change things a little bit. But he's picking up the pieces from the previous tenure. And the previous tenure was supposed to be the nice, boring one. Diligent lads come over from England. Fantastic. They know how to run an organisation. And it was the same nonsense. It was the absolute same nonsense that we got. So, Connor, you've been very quiet.
I'm glad the biggest spoofer in the history of Irish football has gone from the organisation. I think he beats John Delaney for his spoofery. The stuff that Mark Callum came out with over the last couple of years has the biggest load of waffle I've ever heard in my life, with process this, process that, keeping everything confidential. He's the same man. If you remember, we were very close to having Neil fucking Lennon as our Ireland manager. Could you have imagined Neil Lennon managing Ireland national team? Like, that would have been the biggest embarrassment of all time. Nothing against him. Obviously, he'd done a good job at Celtic years and years ago, and obviously he had a good career as a player, but Jesus Christ, so he's stooping that low. And I must say, I think bringing in John Martin is probably the best appointment they will have made in years, because the reality is David Carell isn't that much of the footballing background in terms of the John Martins or the Shane Robinsons or Eden Prices who've been with clubs, or they've took Shamrock Rovers into, in all reality, are a superpower in Irish football now, with John Martin was the head of that. And he can work within a budget and can get a budget. And because he has that background of having a great relationship with the government, with Rovers, that they can trust him if he's behind the key decisions. But the reality is, the people that were involved were an absolute disgrace. The problem is, what I've said before, when you have English lads come on over who have no Irish background, have no love for football in Ireland, aren't going to go to put in the extra yards. They're going to put in. It's not a job you work 9 to 5. It's a job you work 24/7. That you have to do everything. It's not like you just pick up the phone at 9:05 and you put it in airplane mode at 6 o'clock in the evening and you go back home, or Jonathan Hill gets on a flight back to London or works from London. It's not that sort of job. You have to revolve your life all around Irish football. And the problem is, them lads didn't. They were just there for the job to get. Obviously, it was a very good paycheck, but the reality is, like, with the players we have at our disposal, despite the academy systems that we have at the moment, we always produce players that are well above what they should be. Obviously, in all reality, if we had better facilities, if we had better coaching, even though the coaching usually is quite good in Ireland, it's just the contact hours. We mightn't have one Evan Ferguson, we might have 2 or 3 Evan Fergusons in our team, but we still manage to produce these players that are good enough to go off and play at the top level clubs. And why is just things this bad? Like, it's not. Like, is it the mentality? Are the players being dragged down by what's going on in Irish football? Or is it just an easy answer, as I was saying earlier, to say about his academy coaching and facilities, the reason why everyone's just calling bluff and just making up lies, basically saying that's the reason why we're losing to fucking Armenia. But yeah, I'm so glad that Egypt's gone from the FAI now, because obviously we've all thought it for a long time, and we can actually say it now, because he's a nice fella, but in reality is you have to be ruthless in football. It's the most cutthroat industry probably in any sport, and like you can't have these sort of people running our country.
Absolutely. And we're going to talk about the John Martin appointment, and actually and why we should be hopeful. Martin, we said off air, you've got a few reasons to be positive, not from the game against Armenia, but I think the John Martin appointment, we're going to discuss him in a minute, where we go next. Well, yeah, I think there are reasons to be positive actually about him. But let's talk about the manager. Here's our little picture there, window review, Fallout. Heimir, that's him apologising to the fans. I presume that's him apologising to the fans. That's how it's been said.
Yeah, it is, yeah.
I couldn't really see it because I had my head in my hands at the end. And we were surrounded, weren't we? We had that creepy little fucker sitting next to me on the steps. He was like kind of going through my bag. And when we got the goal back, I let a roar out and it scared him. Like, ooh. But anyway, that's scary, Martin, don't you?
Yeah, I do. Volatile. Yeah, on Heimir then. I mean, yeah,
right.
Look, we're going to analyse him.
Let's analyse him. Let's go there.
What's he been in the job now? We've gone behind in loads of games. Conceded too many goals. Very inconsistent with his selections, leaving players out when we can't understand. There's a problem with the left side, leaving out players who he selected in the original squads and then hasn't called up.
Of course, I'm not saying no. Of course, he goes with the left-hand side. Now. The left-hand side is obviously the first thing that comes to mind, right? Martin.
But also, like for all the, I just really weak in the all the positive spin. I know the FAI have to do those videos and stuff. I'm a big fan of them. I love hearing from him. I think even before the game, you're doing the pre-match show the other night, and I was saying, he's just said that Manning's going to actually play left back. So, these little snippets are quite good and stuff. He's very positive. He has understood what the role is now. I think he did surprise him. But, even going back to John O'Shea knows him better. He's going to pick this bit. I thought he had stamped his authority on the squad. The inconsistency with how he's treated Matt Doherty, like he punished him, put him away. I'd have gone, fuck yeah. Like, don't say that I disrespected you. I'm the manager. That was a big marking he could have put down there and said, no, fuck you. I don't need you. In a way, he threw him under the bus the other day against Hungary and played him on the left. What I didn't like about it, though, was we got away with it against Hungary, but the positive bullshit spin of that was we dominated the game. Well, we should have done against 10 men. We got a lucky break there. Honestly, people must think I'm nuts. I stopped engaging with people on WhatsApp and different groups I was in during the match the other night, because when they hit the crossbar, and then I said, you know what? I think Heimir he's a luckier manager than Kenny was, because Kenny had no luck at all. But Heimir hit the crossbar. I was thinking the penalty. I was thinking Keller's got a great record. He might save this. Got incredibly lucky at home against Hungary with the sending off. The late last minute equaliser as well. Bit of luck with that. I mean, we dominated, but we didn't do any. I said it was a difficult game to judge, the Hungary game, because that wasn't their game plan, was it? Just to load the ball into the box and loads and loads and loads and loads of crosses. It wasn't. But we had to adapt to what happened with the sending off. So I think I think there is a little bit of. I'm starting to question the manager now. Matt Doherty's argument for if he gets kind of banished aside by Ireland would be, well, I know I can play left back or the left side, but he put me there. I mean, what message did that say to other players who he's brought in on the left? Like, you're not good enough to start there. It was a crazy decision as Martin O'Neill playing Cyrus Christie in midfield that time. It's just not consistent. Let die on your sword, basically, with your selections. Play Matt Doherty there. Trust him that he came back in and done quite well, didn't he, after he was banished, and then bring him back in and play him there and build the other stuff a different way.
Oh shit, we've got thunder here in London.
I just think there's just it does also, like, we'll come on and say, is it the players, but it worries me the throw on stuff as well. That tactic was useless. What's the point of it? The gaps, the little bits of not knowing if they're pressing or as a team collective. It just seemed there was no game plan. And then he's got a, there was a, people are quite critical of him. 8 minutes to go. We're going out the World Cup here. And he's like having a bit of a laugh and a joke and stuff on the sideline with one of their players. And questioning out the referee and things like that. You know, I just didn't get him. I don't get him on the sidelines sometimes. It's all great when we score a goal and everyone's hugging and cheering, but
Yeah.
you know, it was damning. I think Nathan Collins was asked, "Is everyone still back in the manager?" And he didn't really give an answer. And as a manager, you're going to piss people off when you're not playing them. But Adam Ida's kind of had a bit of a falling out with him as well. Like, I don't think they're all fully invested in him. I think that he might just be a bit of a bluffer, and maybe the players. Although, is that the players? Then look, lads, let's put this on the manager because we've let ourselves down here. But look, he's the one we can throw under the bus.
You're going to hear, I reckon, when he goes, or you know, over the next few days, you're going to hear little leaks and little bits and pieces. You said earlier, Marion, because that's how these guys go. I don't think it's a particularly likable group of players, to be honest, in terms of their effort. You know, I just don't. Their excuses, their attitude is just really, really, really poor. I've never known so many Irish players be thrown out of clubs or dropped or whatever, like questions about commitment. I've never known that so much. You know, there's various players at club level have been bombed out because of attitude, and now you're seeing it here. Some of these boys. I mean, I think it's Heimir is out of his depth. That's my opinion. He seems like a nice guy. He seems to be very cool around. You know, somebody you went out and had a pint with. You'd be cool. You'd want him as a wingman if you're, trying to pull in a nightclub, that kind of thing. But in terms of football manager, he talks a good game. There were red flags. The whole thing of letting John O'Shea take over for the England game, which is ridiculous. And then when he said, he's going to take over for a bit longer, and then Press went, hold on a second, why are we paying you then? And then he said stuff like, he didn't realize how big a job this was. Really? I know he doesn't live here. That's not really his fault because, in Ireland, because the house prices are ridiculous, to be fair. So I think he commutes back and forth. He goes to League of Ireland games, but there was all stuff like he wasn't going to go to matches. He was going to sit there on his laptop like Connor does, and look at all the stats.
Whoa, what are you going to do?
This is my monologue. Piss off. No, I'm just joking. But no, he did say that he was going to be watching like all those things, thinking, hold on a second. And I don't like the player's attitude. That needs to be reined in. There doesn't seem to be a fair consequence, really. Doherty can do what he does and he comes back in. Now, obviously, the performance in Yerevan wasn't Doherty's fault. He wasn't on the bloody pitch. But just certain things, the setup of the players, you got Finn's playing on the left when he's really a number 10. He will be a number 8 in the 90s. He'd be your attacking midfielder. He's playing on the left. You got wingers sitting on the bench when you're trying to play system with wingers. Doesn't really make sense to me. I don't like a lack of aggression. We're Irish.
Mm.
We're aggressive. We're aggressive people. And yet, and there you go. Like, there's Evan Ferguson, right? He's taking a smack. Not one player went over to him. I would have been over in the referee's face. In the players' face, you're not going to fucking do that to one of our guys.
Malumbi would have been. Malumbi would have been if he'd been playing. He would have. Coleman would have been there, wouldn't he? Coleman would have been straight there.
That's like, so there's no togetherness, right? And you say, the manager has to take responsibility for that. The players have taken no responsibility whatsoever, right? That is without question. But the manager has to build that. Unfortunately, in the modern day age, players have to be shown everything. They have to be shown how to wipe their arses. They have to be shown, because back in the day, you had street footballers. They weren't overcoached. They had to think for themselves, right? And that's why international football was the higher standard of football back in the day. Now you got these lads in, and they don't really understand international football. You've got a day to process the instructions to do it on the pitch, right? The day before the match. You don't get a lot of training, but international footballers should be smart enough to know, right, this is what I need from you. I think he's overcomplicated it. This whole thing of playing a thing in possession, out of possession. The lads are looking around. They don't really know what's going on. Just keep it simple. You've got them for a couple of days. Just give them simple instructions. I don't see what the issue is there.
Just on that, Dave, though, the few days, right? So it's interrupted, but this is a key as well. A manager who's been in there just over, he's 12 games as he had now. He can't indulge that group like he did in June and go, you've had a hard season. We have struggled to qualify and be in contention for qualification for up to even the last game. We're gone well before. Them lads should have been going, I don't want to have a break. I want to go to the World Cup next year. I don't need, instead of the narrative, they'll be on holiday. They won't have a holiday this year. Like, fuck them. Drag them in and get them organised so we're going to be more of an attacking threat. I mean, June was a piss take, basically. I mean, look, we're all excited following the team. We all went over there to that. and we're thinking, yeah, we'll be where Ireland, wherever they play, we'll go. And we think, well, we're watching the Ireland B team in a sense, but I think it's absolute criminal. Like, I know we do talk up Bolson Lawal in this, but you had to give him experience. You were never going to be able to, if you're not going to do it, what's the point of having him in the squad? If you're not going to do it in a friendly then in June. I know he came into that, but even like John Patrick Finn, he gave him 5 minutes, then he's not good enough for the squad. Like, okay, you could say, okay, he's not good enough, so I'm going to leave him out. That's fine. We've learned from that. Maybe it's a bit too early for him, but then you pick Boston in there and you haven't given him a minute. It doesn't make sense.
Like, I've never watched Boston play, right? But and you laugh at Connor, but the thing is, that's actually you're pissing on yourself a little bit, because I'm actually
he's not playing guitar, is he?
But I'm putting. But I'm putting my trust in your opinion. You're telling me the type of player he is. You're telling me, how good he is and whatever. So I'm thinking we clearly need somebody. That midfield is rubbish, right? We can never play a two-man midfield, the pivot. We did it under Stephen Kenny, I remember, actually in Armenia. And we lost 1-0. We kept sitting back. I remember, that was the problem, lack of intensity under Kenny. And here we are again. Same thing, except this was a much worse performance, but a much better Ireland team, in my opinion. And you're thinking, right, so we need a player to drive forward. Jason Knight has regressed as a player. He has absolutely regressed as a player, and I can see why he didn't get a move to the Premier League somewhere, right? Josh Cullen does what Josh Cullen does. He's a safe pair of hands, right? But you need someone driving forward. And you're thinking, well, Boston Lawal is the type. Now, I've never seen him play, but I know he is that type of player. And I know Stephen Kelly, who was commentating on the match, has watched him and goes, yeah, he's that kind of player. I'm very impressed by him. The manager's very impressed by him. But he doesn't play him in Luxembourg.
Yeah.
To see, does he fit in my system? He doesn't play a minute against Armenia. Yeah. He brings on Killian Phillips. Nothing against Killian Phillips, but he's not good enough for this level. Not yet. He could be, but not yet. And you're thinking, why haven't you brought him on? Like, why didn't you give him that chance? International football now, you got very few friendlies. It's all about Nations League and qualifiers now. And you had that moment. And it doesn't make sense to me, Connor.
Yeah. I don't want to go too overboard here, because you know how I could be like if I don't agree with the manager's decisions. But even the Kenny thing. If you remember under Kenny, when he had his midfield was best, he played with a midfield three. He'd always go with Cullen, Malumbi, and Knight would be the furthest of that midfield three. He was played as at number 10, and he was absolutely brilliant in that role because he slid slightly higher. And Jason Knight's number one attribute is, and I'd honestly argue he's probably the top 3 players in the world winning free kicks. He is unbelievable at doing that. Remember France at home, he played in his feet, and he'd be so good at just dropping to the ground when he feels any bit of contact. And now he's all of a sudden been developed into this number 6, with Paddy McCarthy speaking at the presser about his love for number 2, number 6s. And the reality is, Paddy McCarthy works at Crystal Palace with possibly one of the most innovative and best, I don't know if you'd consider Oliver Glasner a young manager, but like fresh into the English Premier League game. And he's playing a similar setup in formation wise, but the style of football is night and day in the way they approach football. Like, you can tell whatever way Heimer's playing the same system as such, but the way the structure of it is and the way the team presents itself is just completely different. And like, Paddy McCarthy's so highly rated Crystal Palace, even when before Glasner came in, McCarthy was there and he was kept on because of how highly thought of he is. And all of a sudden he comes into Ireland and it's just completely different. Same with John O'Shea. I don't know what he does. He goes to Portugal when he plays 4-3-3 with, or 3-4-3 with Smolix and Parrott in the wing, which was one of the worst things I've ever seen in my life, in all honesty. And like, with this group of players, it's the first group of Irish players I have noticed in my lifetime that usually when I watch an Irish team play, when it was either Glenn Whelan or even like David Myler or James McCarthy in midfield and Johnny Walters up front or Shane Long, even if some of them players were limited in the aspects, they would always play a level above what they were for Ireland. The perfect example was Shane Duffy. He was always a decent Premier League player. He was very good at Brighton, but he was always good. When he played for Ireland, he was honestly one of the best centre-halves in international football. And he was absolutely, same with Darren Randolph. He was world-class at the time when he was playing purely for Ireland. And this group of players get worse when they play for Ireland. And then when you've stopped picking lads like Coleman, Malumbi, like, sometimes you need as he says, a bastard in his team. Like, in all honesty, like, what was he doing the other night? Reality is Josh Cullen is our only number 6 at the time present. Like, Boston Wild can play as number 6, but I think he's better as that number 8 role where you can give him a bit of freedom to pick up the ball and drive forward with it a bit or go past a couple of men. Then why are you bringing on Killian Phillips for the number 6? So then we're stuck with 2 Duracell bunnies in midfield running about with him and Knight, and none of them have the ability to take the ball off the centre half and play in the half turn. And in all honesty, as bad as Darrow Shea's passing was, Prendy, he was trying to pull off some passes out to the wings because there was no option in midfield that wanted to take the ball off him. Even sometimes it's a simple thing. A midfielder takes the ball off you and gives it right back. It doesn't turn. It's something simple like that, but it can drag a player out of space and leads the next player playing on. And the amount of times, Dave, I don't know if you noticed it, especially in the first half against Hungary, that Finn Azaz was playing in that number 10 role and he was looking to take the ball on the half turn off whether it was Knight or Cullen or Doherty on the left or Manning on the left, and they wouldn't play the ball in his feet. It's particularly because Doherty was playing that left centre half. And the reality is, because he's on a left footer playing on that side and he never uses his left foot, he cuts back in and recycles it, and it's just playing all going in and again and again. And Martin, as you said in June, it was an absolute joke. Not just the players that he used, it was the fact that why was Josh Cullen and Finn Azaz rested in June? They were seen as 2 definite starters for Ireland, and it was seen the thing is, okay, if we're going to rest them, we're going to give lads a chance that haven't been involved or lads that we want to build in this team to give them a chance. But it wasn't that. It was the lads that were the so-called subs for this team, or the lads that were the backup options, came into the side and played all the minutes, and that was it. That was it. They just played all the minutes, and it was so frustrating because, like, it is the lads that are on the board. Like, in all reality, everyone I've spoken to in Irish football, and the best academy player I've seen in Irish football over the last 10 years, since I've started covering, obviously, is Andy Bourne, without a doubt. We've never produced a player like him ever. Coaches in FAI have told me he's the best number 10 we've ever produced. And why is he not fast tracking the senior team? Even when I've obviously said about in Wembley in November, Dave, about I thought he looked so much better than every other Irish player, and he played deeper midfield that day. Like, are you telling me? And he was at Stoke last season, and he was playing as a number 8 mainly before Mark Robbins came in. He threw him out in the wing. If he can play centre midfield for Stoke in the Championship, which is a way higher level than the Armenian League, why can't he come into the Ireland squad and play as one of them midfielders? Because you know straight away, as soon as he gets the ball, he's playing on the half turn and he's looking to play with his head up. Even if he lacks a bit of physicality to play a deeper midfield, we should be expecting to dominate Armenia. And the reality, we couldn't dominate Armenia. And my biggest problem with Heimir Hallgrímsson is he approaches these matches like we are Estonia going to play Armenia, or we're even our Faroe Islands. Why is it so pragmatic? Why is it so defensive? Why is everything? You can say about the 4-4-2 and the 3-4-2-1, which I don't have a problem with it shape-wise in terms of how it works, but because we've no pace in the team half-time, especially Hungary at first half, he had Manning and Smolix in the wing, so we had no pace to get up the pitch. So basically, when they were picking up the ball in the halfway line. So basically, it was a 4-4-2. No matter how much we had the ball, because it was until the 10 men came in. And in all reality, it's an absolute disgrace we didn't win that match with 2-1 down with that long to play.
And you know what? And you're right there. And because I think only, say, for 2 matches under Heimir Hallgrímsson, we've conceded first because we play a style that invites them on.
Yeah,
that's why we don't go on the front foot.
And the problem is, like, I really like Heimir. I think some of the stuff he does really well in terms of the way he communicates and people and stuff. But like, since he's come in, we've had one half decent performance. Senegal at home, we were half decent. That was it. I go back to England and Greece, the 2 games at home. I can somewhat say that's Mark Callum's fault. Oh, well, that's all Mark Callum's fault for that dragging on that long. It shouldn't have been a position. We went to Finland away. We were very lucky. We conceded a lot of chances. That was it. And then we had Festi, who, it's an absolute disgrace how he's not in the squad. It's a joke how he's not in that squad. He's our best impact sub, and he should be starting either Wembley away. He was the best player in the first half. But we went away to that, and it was because of Brady's magic and Festi's magic that we won that game. And that's all reality. We were very lucky. And then we went to Greece away. We had a chance after 30 seconds with Ferguson's, and that was it. We had nothing for the rest of the game. And then we went to Finland at home. We were shocking. We were absolutely useless. And we were lucky that we had Kelleher Ness to save a penalty. Imagine we drew 1-1 at Finland at home with the group of players we have compared to Finland. All they have is Glenn Kamara, and that's it. Then we went to England away. It was a sort of game. All the players were up for it. And there was no surprise to me that we had Jason Malumbi in the middle of the park that day with his it's not even what he offers as a player. It's just the fact that he got stuck. Do you remember he got stuck right into Harry Kane?
Yeah.
Got Harry Kane, yeah, something like that makes such. I know James McLean spoke about it yesterday, but it does make a difference with these lads. And sometimes you need a Malumbi in your team. And then we had Fessy playing. I think did he play wing back at there, or he played on the right hand side?
Yeah, he did.
And he was picking up the ball. And he would drive past a couple of men. He'd win a free kick, or he'd go on a big run up the pitch, and that just gets the crowd going. It gets Irish, and it gets belief in these players that they can do something. But when you don't have that style of player on your team, it's very hard. And then we went to March, and all reality, lads, the only positive I took away from March was the fact that we actually seen Troy Power play well and Finn Azaz. The only two players that played well that really Bulgaria camp. We went to Bulgaria away, and we put Ryan Manning on the left-handed side of midfield with Robbie Brady behind him. And if you remember, Ryan Manning wasn't in the squad, and it was a sort of thing, we're going to play two left-footers left-hand side. Like, who was it? Like, we obviously brought in Rocco Vata for that camp. We all heard, Dave, that arguably he was the best player in training, and he played 2 minutes across 2 games against Bulgaria. Yeah. Like, we went to Bulgaria away, and we were very poor. We were really poor. We got the win, which was happy enough. We got the win. We got the result, and we were thinking, we were thinking this tie is done. We're going to go back to Dublin. We're going to comfortably beat them 3 or 4-0 because we are levels above them in terms of quality. We went back to Dublin and we went 1-0 down, and it wasn't 1-0 down in after Ireland playing unbelievable football and the kind. We were crap again. And we got the equaliser, and we got very lucky that Alameda got that goal last minute when actually Mark Sykes, he came on that day and done quite well, and he's nowhere to be seen since. I can understand why he's not been seen since, because we have better options on that side. And like the Luxembourg game, just, you all know how angry I was after that, because it was the most. I was more angry after that than I was the other day, because I was shocked with how the June window went, in terms of it was meant to be, it was advertised as we're giving lads a chance. These lads are going to come in and get a chance. The thing with Boston and June, I didn't mind as much because he was brought in one day before it. But in all reality, we don't produce midfielders like him. And like, whether you think he's a centre half or whether you think he's midfielder, if you don't think he can come on before Killian Phillips in midfield for a game where he needs someone to get on the ball, who can drive forward with the ball at the feet, Killian Phillips is a Duracell Bunny type of player. He's that Malumbi type player with slightly less technically. So he's not going to look to get on the ball and start spraying passes or passing even cute pass in behind, or even a sort of thing like the other day. Why was Jack Taylor taken off at half time before Jason Knight? Like, what was that about? I know Jack Taylor is probably similar in terms of technically, and Jason Knight is probably could be better in terms of keeping it simple and stuff. But Jack Taylor's always looking to play forward. He's always looking to play his head up. He's looking to drive forward or getting into the opposition box. Not two. We were playing with 2 number 6s who just were static. But
I think
just not happy.
I think with the manager as well. Like, I think he's lost the players. Now, unfortunately, that's what these players have done. He's lost the players. So unfortunately, he has to go. Because if you lost the players, you never get him back. He has lost the players. We're out unless we pull around the ultimate of miracles that makes Istanbul look like, I don't know, a mouse farting at a rhino or something. But he has to go, unfortunately, because we're stuck with the players. We can't change the players. Well, we can change them out, but most of them are terrible anyway. But yeah, my gripe. I agree with everything you say there, Connor. I mean, anybody could see the problem in midfield, what doesn't work. So let's try something that does work. Why are we sticking to what doesn't work all the time? You need a player that drives forward. You have one there. Let's have a look at him. All right, you turn around, well, he hasn't played much. Okay, well, give him a go then. He'd be fresh. He might be a bit rusty, but if you can, any manager worth his salt can look at a player and go, okay, I can do something with you. I know you're rusty. I'll take that. I'll put that over there. But I can see the way, as you say, he could turn on the pivot. He can go on a half turn. He can receive the ball from Nathan Collins, so he doesn't have to think he has to do 5 million things, or Darragh O'Shea, and he could turn, go back, turn, and go forward, and just see, oh yeah, that works. I can incorporate that, and it doesn't matter if he's playing week in, week out as a centre half. He's still playing. A professional footballer can move between centre back and centre midfield. Like it's part of it. It's part of what he does. So yeah, I think Heimir has to go. He's made a lot of mistakes. A lot of red flags. There was one I think I said on the preview, for the Armenia preview, where he turned around and said that, like, we're still trying to build an identity. I'm thinking, what the fuck are you talking about? 11 games, you're still trying to build an identity? Really? No, I'm sorry. I like him. I really want him to do what. Listen, I hope that we turn it around and we pull off a miracle in Lisbon, and then we somehow manage to do it. And then Heimir is advertising cars and everything across the way, because that's what'll happen. Trying to flog you a Mitsubishi TV, that kind of thing. For years to come, because that means that he's been a success. He hasn't.
No. I mean, the fallout from this as well, just from a negative point of view, like as I said, everything's very negative. Even the commentary, though, I think it's worth discussing that. Like I had to listen to Stephen Kelly the other night, and then you go back to the pundits in the studio, Shay Given, Damien Delaney, and then I've seen Richard Dunn's analysis as well, Kevin Doyle, I think, as well. It's so hard to listen to that, and even James McLean now out. Everything's again a jump on Irish football and negative, and I kind of want some of them people like Shay Given, Richard Dunn, even
to be positive about what though, Martin? Presumably you're going to say be positive. What's
no. I'm saying like instead of just being so negative about it, like they're influential. Like offer their services, help a little bit some way. Of do we need them kind of lads involved in it? Like we know John O'Shea's in their experience and things, but like we need top level coaching in there, or
we can't afford it.
No, I know that's
the thing. Is Paddy McCarthy's meant to be top level. Paddy McCarthy's meant to be an elite level coach. I think it's all back to manager.
I just it's just so.
John O'Shea is not an elite level.
No. My point on this is really just because it's so. It influences so much the commentary, right, and the pundits. And I know that we're talking about it, and we're being very truthful and honest here and stuff, and we're disappointed, obviously. But it does then encourage the masses to hate on the players and stuff. Like, in a way, like look, they are indulged. Like we've said this, I think I still put it on the manager, the June thing of why weren't they there? Like, they're so precious, they can't be in here. They should want to be there. They should say, actually, Heimir, we're in a work in progress here. We need to work on this. Why don't we play free in midfield this game so we know how we can play like that? Why don't we do this? And why don't you give this person a go? That's something perhaps John O'Shea or Paddy McCarthy's got to kind of mention on it. But I just think it can be very, very will the fans end up losing faith with it?
Well, I don't think they will.
No, I'm not. I'm just saying. No, I'm saying. Do you think they have? Do you think Irish fans are losing faith with this? No. Just generally in Irish football,
yes.
And we know we're not going to qualify and stuff, but they've still come in numbers. This is what
players I spoke to were giving them about the players saying they're privileged. Well, they're privileged. They're whatever. The manager's not good enough. The FAI haven't got the money. It's the usual stuff being bandied about. Martin, I know you love a bit of positivity, right? But I will not have any goddamn positivity on this podcast.
No, but my point, why I built this up is we're trying to attract. This is where the negative impacts, and this is my point on this. People are saying Dewsbury Hall, right? And Louis Barry. I mean, Louis Barry's different, isn't it? But Dewsbury Hall, we're trying to attract him to play for Ireland. It's like a little bit like Declan Rice. Declan Rice, if Ireland were flying it, he put and Martin O'Neill had invested faith into him and put him on, and he was loving that camp and loving that environment of everything. He wouldn't have thought about going to England.
He couldn't have switched if he would. It was back then. The rules were.
No, I know that. No, I know. But like Dewsbury Hall, if we're, why the hell would he ever consider playing for Ireland? When he thinks, if he sees the negativity of the press and the hammerings, you can't. I mean, no, you can't. No. I know you can't defend this. We can't defend. I'm not defending this. I'm just saying generally, overall, it's not an end. It's the same as Roy Keane saying it. Do you know what I mean?
I'm gonna challenge that, and I'll move on to the next bit. Where do we go from here? All right, we talked about Heimir. By the way, I'm gonna put you on the spot, Martin. Do you think Heimir has to go?
Yeah.
Connor?
Not yet, because I don't think this group's over yet. I don't think this group's over yet. He's on his last job.
Oh, he's on his last. Yeah.
She was singing at half time in the Aviva and somehow got strep throat, and then she found her voice in Armenia. But anyway, okay. I think no, the fat lady. The fat lady singing.
Oh yeah. I'm telling
you. There we go.
I'm not.
You do, Dave. Yeah.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I think he's lost the players. I like him. I hope I'm wrong.
I can't see us qualifying. Or bar an absolute miracle. I don't think the players believe they can qualify either.
No, he's lost the players. They're not trying a lick. The lack of, I feel that part. I feel sorry for the manager for, because it doesn't matter what you say. footballers are selfish. We know that. They live a very pampered, privileged life. Let's be honest, they do. And he has lost the players, and you don't get that back. So you need someone in there, and we're going to talk about it in a second. You need someone in there that needs to rattle a few cages, and we'll get to that in a second. But we'll get to that now, actually. So where do we go from here? So, go on.
I do, but I can understand what Martin's saying in terms of negativity thing, because when you people of biggest profile as Roy Keane come out and saying stuff about Def, I couldn't do a piss up in a brewery. Like, he's the same fella that if the job was offered to him in the morning, he would take with both welcome arms, and as long as the money was there, which we all know if he was getting the job, the money would appear out of somewhere with sponsors or someone would get involved to get him the job. So like, these sort of things, it's like this thing with Mick. It's like, oh yeah, I'm never going to talk to Mick again. Never have any, and then he's there as assistant coach. Like, certain people are very hypocritical and they just say stuff for a bit of attention online and to get. But like, you see accounts online saying, "Sack him now, get him gone now." It's like, why would we sack him? Like, it's like Dunphy saying, "Sack him now." What are we going to achieve by sacking him now? Is FAI probably going to lose out another $100,000 that they can't afford to lose out on? That will, as we said, there's been a lot of legal cases going on at the moment, which in reality they're better off putting money towards that than sacking a manager right now, because the players aren't going to change. And
just for the record, I don't think they should fire him. I just think he when this can't, unless we qualify, I just want to clarify that, unless we qualify and pull around the thing, then obviously keep him on. We ain't going to qualify, and if we don't qualify from this group, then unless
that's part of his contract. That's my point as well. Like, I think though he worries me. He might have lost the dressing room.
Yeah,
and I think the key is that scored in October to see. I think he'll have to make changes.
I mean, Roy Keane, right, as you said on the Stick to Football podcast, which was recorded yesterday, I believe. It was the day after the Armenia game. And he's come out and he was giving out about it. But he also then, he said he couldn't organise piss up in the brewery. He says a lot of these players are very arrogant, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. He's not wrong. And he, a lot of people like to see him go in and rattle a few cages. Now, he didn't even watch the game. I don't know if you copped that. He didn't watch it.
He didn't, no.
He says, apparently it was very bad. So he didn't even watch the game.
I think he was working on an England game, wasn't he?
Yeah, but
yes,
Roy Keane can judge that though on the basis of Ireland lost 2-1 away to Armenia, who we shouldn't be losing to. Now, we did lose there the last time, but still, you see everything else and how lucky we were. If you read the report from the match, you go, Jesus, how did we lose? We were lucky to lose 2-1.
What I didn't like, though, what he said, and I mentioned in the group earlier, was that he was going on about, because obviously the only idea they have that Gary Neville, Ian Wright, and Jeremy and all that on the podcast know what's going on in Irish football is through Roy Keane. And Roy Keane has a very, shall we say, different take on the truth sometimes with how things went down. And he was on about when he was there with Martin and how the press went after him and Martin, and then how there's a bias from Dublin because he's Cork. That is absolute bollocks. Absolute bollocks. And the fact that Martin O'Neill went on about, because I was from the north, he never accepted me. Bollocks again. Utter nonsense. And he doesn't mention the fact that, they did well, and it all went to shit against Denmark, and then all of a sudden, the press, who, by the way, I think have been quite... I don't see this. Now, I haven't seen the papers, but from what I'm reading online, I don't know, Connor, have you seen the papers in the shop? Have you gone out today?
I just read quotes online and there's been nothing bad.
I don't think it's been that bad. I think it's just being very honest. I think I will say this. I'm not part of the I am part of the press pack. I don't work for the Irish Times, Connor, or anyone like that. But I have to be honest with you. And I've no real, I get on with them, but like I'm not mates with any of them or anything like that. But I have to say, I think they're very fair and balanced, the Irish press. And the way like they kind of whip up I think Roy Keane's gaslighting there a little bit. And he's turning around and he's saying like, they went after Martin and me and all that, and people are going about that. I don't think it's that bad. I think they're very fair. There's very fair questions being asked. I think there's a little bit of snobbery towards the Irish media, especially from those working and living in England, and you come over here and go, who are you to ask me? You're not even the real independent. You're the Irish independent. You're not the London Times or whatever. And they ask very fair questions. I think we've all been fair. I think we've been fair here. So just wanted to say that.
I just have a question for you. Did you see Tony O'Donoghue's interview with Heimir?
Yeah.
Yes.
The first question wasn't even a question. It was just telling you.
Oh yeah. Like he said, that was a bit spiky. I mean, he's
angry like the rest of us. And
No. I'm just saying, people are saying it was really disrespectful of Tony and some of his questioning. And he makes a lot of observations very similar to some of his interaction with Martin O'Neill as well. and it is a little bit loaded, I think, sometimes, and it is to try and get that sound bite. I think it is. But Tony's like been in there for years, hasn't he? And he is invested in it, of course. But it made uncomfortable viewing. But yeah, I think generally everyone has been kind of balanced with him. I think are they kind of recognizing that it is, it does come down to the players. It does come down to, they're not questioning they're not questioning like John O'Shea as a coach, are they? They're not questioning Paddy McCarthy as a coach. No one's criticising them. Like they've been both in front of the media. I mean, look, we used to have a lot more focus on it. When
Roy Keane was the assistant
Roy
manager,
was
and
obviously there, wasn't he? But
he had his own
Anthony
press
Barry
conference
as well. When we had Anthony Barry as well there, like it was this guy's a real knows what he.
Yeah.
There was a little bit of that, wasn't there? And
But
at least there's a bit more continuity now with the coaches being in.
But
there.
the thing is, the only person that the media went too far with over the last 10 years of the Irish manager was Stephen Kenny. Like even with Tony O'Donoghue, like by the time it got to the end with Kenny, it got real bitter with some of the questions he was asking him. I'm sure Tony probably would say himself.
As well.
Yeah, and like some of the other journals were going real harsh on Kenny, which was never there with O'Neill and was never there with Roy Keane. So like people just think the problem is people remember one question they got asked that they think was a way of being spiteful and a whole lot against them, and they think everyone thinks the same opinion about them, and like it's just like just shut up, right? Like it's just shut up, right?
I would though say that Dunphy calling them a dentist and stuff. That is,
yeah, but he's not a part of that pack. He's just Duffy looking for attention.
Yeah, to be fair, he is literally an armchair pundit now. Like he doesn't go to the games. He doesn't really have a voice on TV anymore. So where do we go from next? So a couple of names bandied about was Roy Keane, and as vociferous as he was about the shortcomings of the FAI, as Conor rightly said there, like he said he would actually I'd like a bit of that. Now, what do you think, Roy Keane, if they could afford him after this campaign and it all goes wrong as we think it has? Would you have him? Would you have Duffer?
No.
Or would you just have Duffer?
Just Duffer. Do you know just what I think the reason they could go for I don't think Roy Keane, but the only reason I could see them going with possibly Roy Keane is I honestly think if this campaign ends with us on 4 points, after beating Armenia at home, we lose to Bulgaria or Hungary away, we lose to Portugal, both games, there's going to be an unbelievably bad demand for next year's season tickets because there's going to be no tournament. And there's going to be Nations League come September and just friendlies. So, like, how are they going to promote season tickets for next year when there's no tournament to look forward to, especially when it's just the Euros that we're going to be kind of hosting in 2028? So, my thought process is it the sort of thing? It's like, how do we get people to turn up to matches? And Roy Keane and charges box office, and that's the only way I could ever see that coming into play. But go on ahead, Martin.
I agree with you. I was going to say that. It reminds me of when a host. It would be like when a host nation, even all right. He did very well with some South Korea 2002. Was it Hiddink? Yeah. Yeah. Right. You bring in a manager and you have your exhibition challenge matches basically, and he's going to be box office for you. He's going to bring sponsor. He's going to bring money into the association. That's the only reason. Now he'll benefit out of that as well. And forget his role in development of football or anything else that he's doing. He's just box office. That's all they will look at. They have to sell season tickets next year if they haven't qualified. They're banking on this World Cup, and otherwise, they've just got to look at getting games and money in the door. That's the only reason I think. I think he would demand an awful lot. I think it would suit Roy Keane, but I'd love him to come in if he was going to come in. And I'm not saying I want him in. I'm just saying because I think there still is a bit of time in this group, and results can go. I think we're a bit lucky with the draw. I think as well, the way that's worked out. But if he did come in, he's got to just bring in top coaches with him, and I think he's a name enough to attract that. Would people want to work with him? Possibly they would, and I think it'll be a massive risk for the FAI, but it wouldn't surprise me. So it's him, Duffer, and maybe Robbie Keane. It's got to be in the equation as well.
Just looking here, the Irish Examiner have a list of who they would like. This is from John Fallon, of course, friend of the pod. Do like John, actually. He's a nice man.
Appear.
What?
Appear.
You're their peers, as you would say.
Yes. Well, I've even got the...
Right, go on with your big rant. Go on your rant.
No, it's not going on around at all.
The candidates to replace Heimir when he goes.
Yes.
Okay.
So he's got Lee Carsley, who listen, we'd all love him to come in. I he'd be my ideal manager, but it ain't going to happen. He's doing great with the FA. They haven't got the money. They went down that thing before, allegedly, with the backroom staff. Not going to happen. Damien Duff, I think he give the place a lift. I think what the fans want. I think if you had Duff or Roy Keane, I think that would sell out their first game against, doesn't matter who it's against. I think there'd be a massive clamoring there, because I think the public perception now of these players is that they are arrogant. That's the public perception. They are arrogant. They don't really care, and that they need someone to go in there and rattle a few cages. And Duff and Keane, Roy Keane, absolutely would do that. So I think there'll be a big clamoring for that. But he's already walked out in the FAI, and he walked out in Shamrock Rovers. So I don't really know. Stephen Bradley now, and we are gonna finish on John Martin and talk about him. There's talk that he seems to be the favourite to take over next, because obviously the Rovers, he's ex-Rovers CEO John Martin, and he likes Stephen Bradley. Stephen Bradley is probably the best coaching in Ireland right now. But anytime we've gone down the League of Ireland route in modern times, it's never gone well. And of course, there's Robbie Keane. He's doing very well at Ferencváros, but to be fair, that is almost sandbox mode, isn't it? When you're in, remember the old game, sandbox mode, when you're managing a team that's won like the last 50 Hungarian league titles or whatever. But he has been the most successful coach out, from the Mick McCarthy reign. So I don't know. I don't see anyone else there, lads. I reckon it's going to be between Roy. I think Roy Duff or Steve Bradley.
Yeah. I think it's a bit disrespectful to say can't go down the League of Ireland route with Stephen Bradley, in all honesty, because and the reality is the three top figures in terms of football, in terms of like the CEO is John Martin. It's D. What's the new role called? DFO. It was a weird, but there's there's CFO. I think he's CFO, isn't he? He's CFO. Shane Robinson is DFO. And Ian Price is like the head of talent ID, and they're all three are all Rovers, which all done actually at Rovers, and it shows why they've kind of took the step to the FAI at this stage of getting three of the best in the country, which is what an organisation should always aim for. And Stephen Bradley has shown over the last 3 or 4 years his ability to adapt in every single environment he's gone into with Rovers, whether he's playing against the top teams in Europe or teams of that echelon above, where he has to play on a counter-attack style, where he has to sit back, absorb the pressure, get the players ready to drop that side, or dominate games week in, week out in the League of Ireland. So I think it's a bit disrespectful for people to say you can't go down that League of Ireland route with Stephen Bradley, because I think he has established himself, in my opinion, as a level above Kenny now. I think he's just so unbelievably strong. But I would think Damien Duff would suit this team better, just for the reality is what this Irish team needs is that sort of voice. And what Damien Duff would do as soon as he comes in, as what he done with Shells, is he made the players think the whole world hates them. He made them think that everyone hates them and wants them to fail and do unbelievable. And he got them so riled up last season to give absolutely everything for that jersey and would die for him, and got players playing way out of their skin. And it's exactly what this Irish team needs. Roy Keane, I wouldn't be against the system, but I still think he's just not good enough. I honestly think Damien Duff, because of I think Stephen Bradley is a better manager than Damien Duff. He's proved it over the last whatever many years he's been at Rovers, and he's, especially club level, he's that level above. But I think at this current moment in time, Damien Duff would suit that style with Ireland so well, because then players need to kick up the art. And it's not just that, they need a reason to give that 110%. You can't just say just playing for the badge. That's enough, because every country in the world, every player is proud to play for their national team. But the Irish players have always had something special in the past, where they've always had that extra bit of like gas in them to put in them extra yards, put that extra tackling. And there's no one better for that than Damien Duff. Could you imagine him on the sideline going mad, roaring, screaming, him in referees' faces, him in the media, be box office? Because the thing is, he backed his players at Shells to the hills. He done absolutely everything for them. He gave every ounce, but I know he spoke about that managing Ireland isn't in his plans as such, but because he was always so focused on Shells, and then obviously he walked out the door. But even I know Bradley, we obviously had the moment with Clanham and Hill where he left the meeting after 10 minutes because they turned up late, which was every right to do so. but because of how good a relationship he has with the ones at Rovers currently, and I know he's spoken in the past about his dream job would to be manage his country. So like, and Robbie Keane, we just don't, as good as Robbie Keane has done at Tel Aviv, and he's done in Ferren Forest. We just don't know. We honestly just don't know. I know you're saying, Martin, and we'd all love him because he's our greatest ever. He's probably our greatest ever player in international football. So it'd be great to have him become our manager and our legend of. But I just don't know yet. I just think maybe
Robbie Keane, a greatest ever player now, but
international football wise, international wise.
Do you know who? You know what? Just kind of putting all that together, just thinking there. I agree. I think probably Duff, and I'd love to see Seamus Coleman part of the backroom staff. I mean, the leadership there, and you want to talk about somebody who sets the right example. Not saying he has to be a system, whatever, just there with them, like a player coach or whatever. And it's a little bit outside the box, but why not? Just to lift those standards. Seamus Coleman, I said, I don't think he'll be lucky to play for Ireland again. But you know, you bring someone in like Josh Hanahan.
He'll be in the squad next month. Guarantee Seamus Coleman will be there next month.
Oh, he will. Whether he plays or not. You know, whether he's going to play or not, he should be in the squad. And I have said that. I want him around the players because you need someone setting standards. I'd love to see Seamus Coleman and Duff. Because I tell you what, and you are right. What we saw the other night when Evan Ferguson got clattered, right? And I thought it was a bit of a tough tackle. Damien Duff as manager, those players would be in their faces defending their guy. Not one of them gave a shit. And I think Duff would change that.
Jose Mourinho? Ole Gunnar Solskjaer?
That's Ollie would be an outside bet just because we know now from when he come over with Besiktas that he was asked about the job before.
Could you imagine Ole Gunnar Solskjaer with those players?
Yeah,
it'd be worse. You saw it. You couldn't handle it.
No, you need to know. Like, look, the only thing we're going to come on, we talk about kind of restructuring a little bit, the FAI a little bit, but you know, this is what I'm saying. That Damien Duff understands Irish football. I think any other nationality manager who's not been through it isn't going to get it. I think that's where, no matter how nice Heimir is and everything like that, and he took him time to get it. You know, Ollie wouldn't be there long. You know, I think you do need. I think we might as well go for this. If we fail to qualify, which is looking likely. I still want to be kind of positive on this. But if I want to, I actually would go. If I could bring in a hard bastard manager who's not going to take any bullshit, and let's see if that works. Like, you know, you lot, they might, and you know what? Some of the ones who don't fancy it, then instead of coming along and getting their international caps and the plaudits of all the fans and happy to do whatever they're doing, they might just retire then magically, and not fancy it being like called out for shit performances. There you go. It will show you who really wants to be there. I mean, Duff will demand an awful lot. Yeah. Like, he is another level of Roy Keane in a sense. He'll just demand it and say, and he'll just now again. I don't know if you would get. I think where that works. It doesn't work long term. Like, it wouldn't be sustainable, like a 10-year project or anything. But you might as well go for it. Like, one qualifying campaign. That's all you have to have. It's a qualifying campaign.
It's international football, though, exactly. Martin. It's not day in, day out.
No, exactly. I mean? So it suits him. He can just be bang.
You get more longevity.
Like, imagine Roy Keane, and this is what I'm saying. It comes from the top, the leadership. That Matt Doherty thing. You know, I have sympathy for him from the other day being, you know, thrown on the bus, but he was absolutely shocking, right? And he's got away with it in the past as well. And but I don't like that whole disrespected thing. You know, I hate that. You know, no one's disrespected you. You were shite. And this is the thing now. Roy wouldn't even fucking pander to that. Neither would Duffer. They'd go, fuck you. Like, what have you achieved in your career to warrant you thinking you've been disrespected playing for Arsenal to play for Ireland and you perform like that? You know, these two lads are high profile. They can put their medals on the table, and that is a bit important thing. And they've been there, lived it. And yes, they've had fallouts with the FAI, but imagine the FAI with them two in there, either of them in there, they'd be shitting themselves. They'd be going, Jesus,
I think
he could pick off any moment.
And look what Joffer achieved, which I'm sorry, but look what he done with Shells in terms of the squad they had compared to Pats, Rovers, Derry, even Bowes last season. It was an underdog story, and that's exactly what Ireland needs.
But we are underdogs now. We are underdogs. Like we qualified for World Cup 2002.
Are we?
You know, Holland. No, in 2002 we qualified.
But sure we're underdogs
against the Dutch and Portugal in that group. You know, we weren't fancy to get through it, and we did. So whenever we've done that, we've always been the underdogs in international football. Let's be honest. Even with our amazing players, 88, we've struggled to qualify for tournaments.
that was
1990, 94, we had a good compact squad then, and it all clicked obviously with Jack. But this is what you need now. We need a Jack in a way. Everyone's looking back and Jack just didn't take any bullshit. Jack did the same thing, didn't he?
I think Duff's perfect. Because he's still involved in modern-day management. Keane hasn't managed for 14 years. So you have him there as a bit of influence. But I think Duff could do that. He would do the bollocking bit. He could also do the whole put your medals on the table. He's won 2 Premier League titles. So he's got that. And he's got the name recognition in Ireland. So and he is a bit of, he's a legend as well, an Irish footballing legend. He's played in 2 tournaments. So yeah, I think Duff would be perfect. And he wouldn't take any nonsense. And if you had somebody not giving it all for the Ireland shirt, I mean, that's how he was about Shelbourne. Imagine for your country. I know he had an issue with the FAI, but to be fair, there's no Jonathan Hill now. It's David Carell, and there's no Mark Canham. It's the next man we're going to talk about, and that's John Martin. And we're going to try and finish this now, next 10 minutes or so, with a bit of positivity here. So here he is, John Martin. He's a new director of football, which was announced today by the FAI. Just a little bit of the press release here. John Martin appointed as FAI Director of Football. They're delighted to confirm his appointment, and Shane Robinson takes on a technical director role on a permanent basis. He's a former League of Ireland player at UCD, Lockport Town, and Shamrock Rovers, who enjoyed a successful post-playing career in financial services before taking over as Chief Executive Officer with Shamrock Rovers in 2023. Conor, you could pull a little list here. This is what he's done. This is why we're a little bit positive about this, because my God, do we need it. And I think he's actually going to be a good fit for Ireland, we hope anyway. So his key achievements and initiatives, academy reclassification and funding innovation. He led the move to reclassify the club's academy as a TUSLA regulated child care service, allowing it to qualify for government funding under a national child care scheme. More money. That's excellent. So the academy did fantastically well there. Governance of club structures. He was involved in negotiating a long-term lease license agreement for the use of Tallaght Stadium with Dublin County Council. He took roles or became more visible with bodies like the European Clubs Association, Premier Clubs Alliance, national committees, that sort of thing. His commercial and community engagement introduced LED advertising boards among other commercial and innovative types, measures to modernise matchday and sponsorship resources that came from RTE. He's just the on-field success support when he was the CEO at Rovers. Obviously, Rovers are doing fantastic in Europe as well. Stadium and infrastructure, he always saw further development tied to Tallaght Stadium, for example, the 15-year license deal, etc. When he left in April 2025, he announced he would leave his post in the summer of 25. The club publicly credited him with having led the club successfully and making a significant impact integral to growth and success during his time. So these are just some of the things he's done. So this is a guy who knows how to get things done. He's a bit of an all-rounder, actually, isn't he? He do the business side, he can help with the footballing side, and he's an out-of-the-box thinker. And I think, gentlemen, obviously with the situation the FAI are in, this guy, he seems perfect. He played League of Ireland. He gets Irish football. He was in charge of one of the most successful team in Ireland, and a very well-run club. I know some aren't going to like that, but Rovers are. So I think they got on the surface, because you never know what's going to happen, it seems like this is a fantastic appointment by the FAI.
Yeah, the best appointment they could have made, in all honesty. They easily could have promoted from within, because I know they had the option of promoting Shane Robinson, and they had John Morling as well, who's, is he Hong Kong's director of football? And then another fella that was non-Irish fella that was in the role, and obviously they went for John Martin in, which I think is a positive thing, because it's been quite a common theme as of late of having a lad coming in the interim and then promote him to the full-time role. So I think it's a huge step to got John Martin in. Because the thing is, the fact he left Rovers, he didn't leave Rovers because he was crap at his job. He was unreal. So obviously he was going to make that next step to whatever organisation or job title was next. So it's a massive coup. It's the best possible man they could have got for the job. And like I've said before, you need someone whose life revolves around Irish football 24/7, 7 days a week. They will do everything to get things right. And as you said, Dave, you have to think out of the box. Where's it making money? The TUSLA thing, like, he was the only club in Ireland, was Rovers, the only club that tried to go for it and approached it that way. So I think he's just perfect. And obviously, he still is going to have a lot of things to put up with, a lot of things to be rectified, build relationships. But I think because he has that relationship with the government already, with what he's done at Rovers, he's going to be trusted in the way that things are going to go in the right places and the right people are in charge, and they have the right people, I think, at the top at the FAI now to make things happen, because for too long getting English people in just doesn't work in these sort of roles, because unless you're a Martin, where you're born in London and you have an English accent but your life is Irish football, you don't have a clue. There's a lot of these lads coming with the English accent and they are fans of, who was Jonathan Hill fan? Was he a Leeds fan or something?
Leeds.
And
Leeds,
Leeds
I think,
fan. Yeah, and he wouldn't give a fuck about Ireland if Leeds were playing at the same time. I guarantee if they're playing at the same time, same day, he'd be watching Leeds over Ireland.
Allegedly.
Yeah, but well, we can say it now. Yeah, so I'm just glad he's in. He's going to be a massive help to the organisation. Obviously, when there's stuff coming out about ex-managers and coaches and stuff with lawsuits, it makes everything that little bit harder. And there's no guarantee he'll go in and do a perfect job or he'll be able to turn around, because he's a very tough task at his hand. But I think he's the right man at this current moment of time to get us in the right place.
How do you feel, Martin?
Yeah, great appointment. Again, the Irish factor for me is really important, and knowing Irish football and the politics of it, especially. We've got to obviously canvass the government, and if he can help do that, and we've got to really galvanise support for football. As I said, it's such a mass participation sport, and we don't sell ourselves very well in Ireland about that. So we need to get that across to everybody, and. But one of the things what I'd like to make sure we do, and you might need someone in the FAI to kind of fall on their sword in a way, just take on the nonsense, like have a crisis manager in there. I'll deal with all that. It's a horrible job, right? But just go, I'm going to deal with all the shit in the past. I'll deal with the Eileen Gleason's thing, Cole Durban thing that was settled. I'll deal with all these, all the nonsense. I'm not dismissing some of it. Like obviously the women's claim about abuse and things like that. Very serious, but we'll deal with that.
You don't mean it's nonsense like what's happening?
Yeah. I'm just saying all the sidetracking stuff, and then let these lads, David Carell, organise from the top and go, look, we'll put our hands up. We know it's a mess, but this is what we're doing now. And these lads are coming in to do it now. Like, this is what we're doing. This is what we're going to restructure. We're going to restore the faith. It needs a massive PR drive. Focus on, sadly, people will always see if these lads are like, I think they have the credibility that they're League of Ireland people as well. So when they're seen at the games, it's not just a gesture like Jonathan Hill being there. They were there previously. Yeah. So that's the important thing with it. Get buy-in from the public. I think it's going to be so important. And just galvanise it. And again, crisis management like person as well. Going, look, I deal with the senior team. We deal with that. Yeah, it's not great that we're not going to probably qualify, but this is what we're trying to do to fix that. And away we go. And that's it. We have to try and spin the positivity with football. Massively disappointing week. But, and I know even the FAI are getting criticised, but, they want to be seen as doing things that and following through with stuff. So, for example, yesterday, the email came through, individual tickets sales for Armenia at home. Worst day in the world to ever do it. But they said they would do it to fan groups, like supporters clubs, like the London one. We were told we were going to get that information because everyone was asking them, what are you going to do? Because if we'd have got those amazing results that we were hoping for, there would have been a clamour for tickets for that home game, Armenia. There probably isn't now as much, but they said we were going to release that information on that day. They've done so, and straight away, it looks awful. Like, Jesus, and to be fair, the emails to us with this link, I mean, it goes out to all fans, but like we got one going, we know this is the worst time to say, send this to you lads, but we said we would. And here you go. There's the information, because some supporters clubs will want to support it, and fans do want to get tickets for these games, and that's what it's about.
Yeah, no, I agree. And oh god, we've been on here for nearly 90 minutes. I hope we feel a bit lighter, lads. Do we? We've kind of got that. Yeah. Well, especially I did after my rant at the beginning. But I stand by it. We deserve better. The players are better than that. I'm sick of these tropes. Oh, we don't have the players. No, nonsense. Absolute nonsense. We don't have the attitude. But anyway, we'll still support them. Don't worry. We're going to go to Lisbon. We're going to go to Budapest. We're going to be there, and we're going to support the boys in green and get behind whoever. If it's still Heimir or whoever comes in for the rest of the camp or whatever, we're still going to be behind them and give them 100%, and hopefully we get the same because that's what we deserve. Anywho, right, lads, thank you very much. Of course, any breaking news that comes in, we're going to cover it. We'll do a podcast. I don't expect a resignation. I don't expect a firing, anything like that. But there should be interesting. Be news coming through. I'm sure little bits will leak. That's how this kind of stuff seems to happen. But we will be back with a live, of course, next week. Not too sure. We're a bit lived out at the moment. Still knackered.
We'll be live on Sunday.
Be live on Sunday. There you go. The boys are going to be live on Sunday.
Are we, Mark?
Yeah, we are.
Yeah.
Dave, you'll be on?
I won't be on, unfortunately. But
is he ever on a live anymore, Martin? It's only when it's the matches he only turns up.
I'm here now.
It's not a live, is it?
No, but still, in our hearts, it will be live. But no, the lads will be live on Sunday, of course. Then the League of Ireland podcast returns next. No, it doesn't, does it? It's cup games this week, so the week after. And then, of course, we're gonna start wrapping up the content over on Raw Plus. If you want a little bit of extra Raw, sorry we haven't done as much, but I mean, I think you can understand we've been in Asia, essentially. But for $4.99 per month, you can help support the podcast and help us do things like travel to Armenia and watch your boys get walloped. And that's what we do. But anyway, we are an outlet for you guys. We're an outlier. We allow you guys to have your
at least under 21s are on 6 points. That's the amazing.
Under 20, I never even posted anything about them on Facebook because I was so tired and so just angry. But anyway, So if you haven't already, please do subscribe to the channel here. Do, if you want, a bit of extra Raw, $4.99 wherever you are. It's a great help. The link for that is in the comments below. If you want to cheer yourself up right now for the next little bit, you got K Sarah Sarah. That is over there on Raw Plus. So if you signed up, go over and enjoy it. Just a few little bits and pieces. I'm going to be watching that tonight. I need to drown my sorrows with a bit of that. So if you haven't already, please do subscribe to the channel. Please do like the video. Please head over to our Facebook, Instagram, and our Twitter account. And head over to lansdowneroad.ie. Anyway, right, we're going to leave it there, chaps. Thank you very much. I'm David Dunn. He's Myron Prendergast. That's, of course, is Conor McAvoy, who looks desperate for his bed and his TikTok. And we're Lansdowne Road, the voice of fans. We're out of here. We'll see you in the next one. Good night. God bless.